Comedian Dave Chappelle came out and officially endorsed Andrew Yang today. He said, "I am Yang Gang." The campaign also releasing the dates for his 2 South Carolina shows in support of Yang: Wednesday, January 29th, Thursday, January 30th. We're told ticket information would be released soon. You know, when we talked to Yang last week, he talked about trying to decide on what to do on debate night since he's not on the stage. Well, one thing we know he decided to do was talk to us. I'm curious how you guys are doing toward that $2 million fundraising birthday present you're trying to get.
We're on our way. Last I checked, we were closing in on 1.5, and the Yang Gang tends to procrastinate, so they tend to dump money in at the last minute. So we should be all right.
In terms of the actual debate, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week, but you've had so much positive momentum. How difficult is it to have this kind of a hiccup when you feel like you're moving along really well?
Well, we've been growing faster than any other campaign, and the energy's been amazing here on the ground in Iowa and in New Hampshire. Bigger crowds, more excitement. We're growing and growing. We're going to peak when the voting starts on February 3rd. And in a way, it's a really fortunate piece of timing where we're so close to voting that we can just make our case directly to people in the early states.
Listen, 2 more questions, debate related. One is, you know, I know you had a few comments on Twitter, but just in terms of this dust up between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, what are your thoughts on it specifically, and does it hurt the party?
I think it's really unfortunate because Bernie and Elizabeth both want to solve the biggest problems facing the American people, and this just seems like a sideshow or distraction that doesn't help the party, and it certainly doesn't help us move forward. So I hope that they don't emphasize this kind of flare-up on the debate stage tonight, but we all know they'll probably go the opposite direction and harp on it very strongly.
So, okay, I'm going to ask you a dummy debate question here. Not a dummy as in not smart, but a practice one if you were there on the stage and I was moderating. Mr. Yang, now that General Soleimani is dead and Iran's response to not take an American life, how would you as president handle the situation moving forward?
75% of Americans want nothing to do with war with Iran. We need to pursue a diplomatic solution, be very grateful that no American lives were taken. So I would try and resuscitate the multilateral nuclear deal that we pulled out of in 2018. We should be investing in our historic partnerships and alliances. The more we spend on diplomacy, the less we have to spend on aircraft carriers. And that's the will of the American people. Most Americans want to end the forever wars that we've been engaged in for almost 20 years now.
I want to ask you about Cory Booker. You know, from social media and the times you guys have interacted, it's clear that you both like each other. To the extent that you can share with us, did you have a conversation with him, and how did that go?
Yeah, I spoke to Cory yesterday. He was in good spirits because that's the kind of guy Cory is. And we know that Cory is not going anywhere. He's still going to be fighting for the people of New Jersey and the entire country. But I did have a chance to share a convo with him. It seemed like he was doing great, you know, and he described impeachment as one of the ingredients that caused him to make this decision because it's very hard to campaign in the early states when you're in Washington for the trial.
Right. Lastly, in terms of, I mean, obviously you would love to have some of his support or maybe even some of his staff. How does that go about? You're still expanding. Did you solicit his endorsement, or when would that come?
You know, we didn't talk about that last night, but one thing my data team tells me is that, you know, the #1 search after you search for Cory Booker is Andrew Yang. So that's a very good sign. Hopefully some people that like Cory will find a home here with this campaign.
The Yang Gang. I don't know if that was something that you referred to like your family as and it kind of spilled into the campaign, or...
No, it bubbled up organically. We had supporters who just started calling themselves the Yang Gang and using the hashtag, and then we're like, all right, I guess it's the Yang Gang, and it really stuck.
Now, what about the Yang Gang dance moves? I saw a TikTok video on Twitter. Is this going to be a regular thing, or is it really an exhausted move?
I hope that the Yang Gang has more dance moves than I do.
Hey, I thought they were pretty good. No judgment, no judgment.
Oh, thanks, Carrie. It means a lot.
Why are you running for president?
I'm running for president because we're going through the greatest economic transformation in our country's history, what people are calling the 4th Industrial Revolution. And I'm running to let America know that It's not immigrants that are causing these problems. It's technology and the fact that Amazon's closing 30% of our stores and malls. Self-driving trucks are around the corner. Artificial intelligence is real and just starting to creep into companies. And that if we don't solve these problems, then we're going to be left chasing the symptoms instead of the disease. To me, the reason why Donald Trump's our president today is that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in the Midwest. And unfortunately, what we did to those jobs, we're about to do to millions of other jobs.
I thought it was interesting, though, how you got to this idea of a universal basic income. And it really was driven largely by your family situation.
Yeah, my wife is at home right now with our 2 boys, one of whom is autistic. And her work counts at 0 in our economic measurements. And a higher minimum wage would also do nothing for her or the 10 million stay-at-home moms around the country. Mm-hmm. And so if we know that this is some of the most important work that anyone's ever going to do, then we should have a mechanism in place that recognizes that work and caregiving and nurturing for people who have relatives at any age and stage that require care. So a universal basic income of $1,000 a month would be a game changer for millions of American families, and we can make it happen right now in 2020.
You say by dipping into those who aren't paying a lot of taxes and are making a lot of money.
Yeah, Amazon, trillion-dollar tech company, closing 30% of our stores and malls, paying 0 in taxes. So think about that. How the heck did Amazon pay less in taxes than every single one of us? And that is not sustainable. If we give ourselves, the American people, our fair share of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every robot truck mile, we can generate hundreds of billions in new revenue that can pay for the dividend very quickly.
What do you think's not getting communicated to voters about you, especially when it's such a crowded debate stage?
I think if someone turns on the TV and sees me on the debate stage, they think something like tech gazillionaire or something along those lines. The fact is, I've run a nonprofit for the last 7 years. I live a very normal life. Certainly not a gazillionaire or anything like that. So I think if people dug into my family and our day-to-day lives, they would see themselves in it very much so. I mean, I'm the son of immigrants. I feel like I've gotten so much from this country. My parents came here to create a better life for my brother and me, and it worked out. And now I feel like we don't understand what's happening to us. We're scapegoating immigrants for problems immigrants have nothing to do with. And our journalists and leaders don't understand technology and its intersection with the economy well enough to be able to explain what's happening to us, to people. And so I hope Americans look at me as just like a parent and an American who just saw what was happening to our country and needed to do something about it.
As the son of immigrants, as a minority, you don't really talk a lot about identity politics, though.
I think identity politics at this point is separating us from each other more than it's bringing us together. I mean, as a son of immigrants and the first Asian American man to run for president as a Democrat, I'm acutely proud of my heritage. But I think that we have to bring people together, and leaning into identity politics does not strike me as a very productive way to do that. You know, you have to try and balance it out. For this campaign, I'm running in the way that's most natural to me. And to the extent that I can bring Americans together of every background, that's the goal.
Andrew Yang, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Carrie.
I really
appreciate it.
Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah, yeah. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah. I want 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month. I want 1,000 a month, 1,000 a month. Let's get this bread. Freedom dividend. Are all y'all paying attention? Automation gonna sweep the nation unless we get him in. Andrew Yang 2020 freedom dividend. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang 2020. Yang Gang. Yeah, yeah. First we get this money, then on 420. He gonna give some high fives to some high guys. Decriminalize marijuana so we can smoke if we wanna. Down with the opioid trend, up with the mental health thing. Yeah, math. Yo, it's just math. Yo, it's simple math. Yo, can you do math? Yo. Eliminate super PACs. Color stars making stacks. Student loan forgiveness plan. Cops wearing cameras and climate change is real again. Science rules. Teachers bringing home some bread. Medicare for every citizen. Andrew Yang, 2020 freedom dividend. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, yeah. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, 2020. Yang Gang, yeah. Yo, a vote for anyone else is like negative $1,000 from your pocket every month.